What happens when the healed version of you, the one who knows better, the one that has done the work, screws up? And when I say screws up, I mean when you revert to some of those old behaviors that you swore that you unlearned, those unproductive behaviors. Well, today we're going to talk about those moments that bring us face to face with our humanity. And I'm going to help you meet those moments, hopefully without shame. Because recently I had a moment that I was not proud of. Today's episode is going to be one of those honest ones, as they usually are, but it's probably also going to be uncomfortable for me. It's the kind of episode that I wasn't planning to do, but I feel like it is necessary to do. I probably won't get into too many details, but let's just say I acted in a way that is not reflective of the person that I have worked so hard to become. I blew up. I got angry. I lashed out. I reacted in a way that felt like 2006 Nessa. And if you've ever met her, eso no es bueno, okay? Not good. I saw the version of me that I swore that I had outgrown years. I'm talking about years ago. And in the aftermath, I felt so many things. I felt embarrassment. I felt ashamed. I felt disappointed, but I also feel proud. And yes, I said proud. Because while I cannot excuse how I acted, I can take accountability for it. And I can recognize that the real healing, that the real growth comes from not from being perfect, but from how quickly you can catch yourself when you're not. So that's what today's episode is about. What it looks like when the healed version of you is not acting so healed. The healed version of you screws up. When you backslide, when you know better, but you choose not to do better in the moment. You know what time it is. It's time to get comfortable, grab something to drink, grab a snack. It's time to tune in and shift with me. Welcome back to the On Some Real Shift podcast, where I have real conversations on what it takes to shift your mindset and uplevel your emotional and spiritual life. I'm your host, Vanessa. I'm going to skip the titles today. I just want to come at you human to human. Also, those titles didn't really seem to matter when I lost my shiitake, okay? Like, let's start with the truth. Let's start with something that is very cliche, but we're putting it into action. We're putting it into motion, which is healing is not linear. We hear this all the time, but what does this actually really mean? It hits different when you're in the middle of it. It hits different in a moment of regression. When your nervous system is hijacked and those old patterns just come rushing in and you're standing there in the aftermath like, what the hell just happened? I thought I was past this. Here's the thing, knowing better doesn't make you immune to your triggers. It just means that you have more tools to navigate them. It means that you recognize what happened sooner. It means that you're feeling deeper because you're not numb anymore, because you're present. You are aware. And sometimes that awareness is painful. There's a difference between having feelings and then acting from them. I want to be very clear about this. My feelings were absolutely valid. My frustration, valid. My hurt, very, very real. My disappointment, 100% justified. But how I chose to express that hurt, how I chose to express that frustration, that disappointment, not valid, not justified, not cool. That's where I went off track. And that's where I had to check myself. There's this misconception that healing means that you are just peace, love, and light all the time. And that is just not the case. It's not realistic, or I don't think it is. Healing doesn't mean that you don't feel your feelings anymore. But what it does mean is that you learn how to process them in a much healthier way. You learn to channel it instead of explode from it. And I didn't do that in this moment. I reacted instead of responding. I defended instead of communicated. I allowed the wounded part of me to speak louder than the wise part of me. And this is why I preach the importance of having a regulated nervous system. I became completely dysregulated. Listen, I'm not defending my shitty reaction, but what happens when our bodies become dysregulated, oftentimes our bodies react before our conscious mind has a moment to figure out what is going on. Our autonomic nervous system, specifically the amygdala will trigger that fight or flight response within your body. And it can trigger that even if the threat that is perceived perceived as emotional or psychological. It does not have to be a physical threat. So what happens when we're triggered, a lot of times this amygdala fight or flight response kicks in before our prefrontal cortex kicks in, which is the part of the brain that is responsible for making rational decisions. And when that happens, you're no longer in a regulated state. So anyways, back to the situation. I realized I had not responded like that in years, like seriously years. I almost didn't recognize that person, but then I kind of did. Like I said, I was like, oh, that's 2006, Nessa. Girl, I thought I put you away. I thought I put you away. I worked really hard to put you away, actually. And that's the part that hurts. That's the part that stings. Not because I expect perfection from myself, but because I know better. And when you know better, but you still act from a place of pain, when you still find yourself reacting in that old version of yourself, it can kind of feel like the work that you've done has kind of flown out the window. But let me say this clearly for you, but also for myself. One moment does not erase your growth. One misstep does not erase all the healing that you've done. What does matter, however, is what you choose to do afterwards. Can you own it? Can you sit with it and digest it, dissect it? Can you understand where it came from? Can you repair it? Can you look at yourself in the mirror and say, that was not my highest self, and I'm still worthy of love and growth? Because that right there, that's the healing. That's where the shift happens. Let's talk about accountability. We live in a culture that either romanticizes healing or punishes imperfection. And not enough people are honest about that space that happens in the middle. That's the space that most of us live in. I mean, really, the truth is this healing journey that so many people love to boast that they're on is really us going back and forth between the old and the new. The old us and the new us, until we're slowly making shifts until we're like fully into the new, you know? It's not an automatic switch that turns off. You say, oh, you know what? I'm healed. Lights off. New me, new chapter. That's it. I'm never going to touch any of those old coping mechanisms, behaviors, thought patterns, etc. I wish it happened that way, but we're talking about human behavior and that's just not how it works. It takes time. In fact, it took time to create these unproductive patterns, so it's most certainly going to take time to break them. It's that space where you mess up, but you don't make it your identity. The space where you can say, I screwed up, and that's okay. I still owe it to myself to try again. That's the kind of emotional maturity I want people to normalize, because it's not about being the perfect partner or friend or even coach. It is about being somebody who's willing to look at their mess and say, okay, I see it, I feel it, now let me do better. So what now? For me, this experience was extremely humbling, because it reminded me that I still have work to do. It let me know that some of my wounds are deeper than I thought. Actually, for me, it uncovered a wound that I didn't actually even know existed. It helped me identify that certain dynamics still activate a certain part of me that I thought was dormant. But with that, it also reminded me of just how far I have come. Because years ago, I would not have been able to own it. I would have justified it. I would have deflected. And I would have minimized it. And now here I am on a microphone telling y'all I screwed up, because that's what self-awareness looks like. And I'm not sharing it to glorify the breakdown, because like I said, I was not very nice. But I am here to show you that it is okay to be a work in progress and still be proud of how far you've come. So if you're listening to this and you've had a moment where you've recently slipped, you have maybe reverted to some behaviors or thought patterns that you thought were long gone. Maybe you said some things you didn't mean. Maybe you acted from fear instead of love. Maybe you just let your pain get the best of you. Let me just say, you're not broken. You are not a fraud. You are human. And the fact that you are able to recognize it and name it and choose differently next time is something to be celebrated. Take some time, examine it, figure out what that behavior was trying to show you. Don't gloss over it. Use this as a mechanism for growth. There's so much knowledge in the breakdown, so much juice in there we just don't even realize. We're so afraid of it. We just kind of want to skirt past and act like it doesn't exist, but there's information there. And that's what alchemy is, right? It is transmuting something that's negative, destructive, or painful and turning it into something beautiful, into self-acceptance, into expression, turning that pain into purpose, as corny as that might sound. People aren't real enough. People in the wellness space aren't real enough. Regular, degular, human to human, we aren't real enough about like the reality of what breaking patterns really looks like. It is messy. Hello, that's why I created this podcast. I talk about the messiness involved in shifting your mindset, right? It's all a part of the journey. I want to thank you for letting me keep it real today. This wasn't easy to record, but like I said, it felt necessary. If you are in a season where you're holding both pride and regret, growth and grief, strength and softness, you are not alone. I am right there with you. If this episode resonated, share it with someone else that you think might find it helpful. If you're not already subscribed, hit that follow button so you don't miss the next one. We're healing in real time around here, okay? One shift at a time. As always, I appreciate your time. I will catch you on the next one. Peace.